The Little Sisters of the Poor say they have good reason to be encouraged. This after the Supreme Court takes an unusual step in their case challenging the government's contraceptive mandate. Wyatt Goolsby reports from the High Court tonight. Wyatt?
Brian, both sides of this case will have to spell out to the Supreme Court how the HHS mandate could work with insurance plans without violating religious freedom. And while we are still nowhere close to a final Supreme Court decision, this request could imply which way the Supreme Court justices are leaning. It was just 1 week ago that supporters of the Little Sisters of the Poor rallied outside the Supreme Court. Faith-based groups argue the health care mandate violates their beliefs by making them complicit in providing birth control drugs.
The burden is the burden on our conscience of having to collaborate with something that we consider to be morally objectionable and evil.
Yesterday, the High Court took a step few were expecting. They called for both sides to present alternative ways to avoid forcing women religious to provide services that go against their faith. It's a move Jonathan Keim says doesn't happen very often.
It's very rare.
Keim is general counsel at the Judicial Crisis Network, a group that closely follows the Supreme Court. He says the justice's request for more information implies the government may have an uphill battle.
Frankly, the burden is on the government to show its side, from its perspective, what the alternatives would be, because this is the burden that the federal law puts on the federal government.
Supporters of the government mandate say the health care law does not force the Little Sisters to pay for services they disagree with. But that issue is under debate in smaller court cases across the country. That's why Keim says the outcome in this case will be critical.
There are very likely thousands of other religious ministries and organizations that would be subject to federal law apart from this case. And so they would be affected by whatever solution comes up. So the stakes couldn't be higher on this.
The justices say both sides have until April 20th to file a new round of legal briefs. A decision is not expected to be handed down until June, but even that is not set in stone. There's a possibility the court could choose to wait until a ninth Supreme Court justice is appointed before handing down a final decision. Brian?
Thank you, Wyatt Goolsby at the Supreme Court.